A talk show that cuts to the truth, no matter how painful it might be, and no BS. Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith.
Here's a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth. Here is someone who stood up.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
Good morning. Today on Monday, August 2nd. How are you today? Yes, it's August already.
Can't believe it.
Wow, summer's flying by. Heat wave's still here. We'll be in the 90s again today, tomorrow, and then the following day, and then we get back into reasonable temperatures in the low 80s. So keep your fans on, your AC. Make sure everybody's staying cool out there. Discovered a wonderful local bar hangout for the neighborhood. I won't give the name away because I want to keep it somewhat to the neighborhood. But good group of people. You sit at picnic tables out in their little bungalow, and it's got all these funky decorations, and it's a wonderful little hangout to meet the locals, people that have been here for 20, 30 years. Nice demographic. Got this one gentleman I like to hang out with and talk to. He's really funny, smart. He was telling me he was in Milwaukee Sunday for the Milwaukee Farmers Market. I love farmers markets, especially the ones in Oregon. Oh, they are the best to find wonderful produce and just unique things that are crafted locally. And he gave me some cherries. He had a bag of Oregon cherries that was so beautifully
Oh, they're so good.
dark red, like a violet. And they were so succulent and sweet. They were the best cherries I ever ate. Not to be outdone, he went back to his car and he had a little cooler. He says, I've got to give you this taste of this ice cream that was crafted there. He brought this ice cream back that had mascarpone in it and Valencia oranges mixed in with the flavoring. And this vanilla mascarpone or Valencia orange ice cream was so delicious. It was the best ice cream I've ever had. And they just make it for the farmer's market. Unbelievable. And then he finally hit me with this, which is why next Sunday or this Sunday coming up, I have to go to Milwaukee's farmer's market. He said, there's a woman there of German descent who makes a sauerkraut that is so delicious, it's just good to eat on its own. And he raved about that. And I just love a good sauerkraut. The farmer's market is the great thing of the summer in Oregon. You know, they're all over the state. I don't care where you live. You can find some great farmers markets.
Yeah, we went to one down in Newport not too long ago, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, when you go to these different ones, like you find all kinds of local specialties.
When I lived in Gold Beach back in 2015 down in South Coast, Oregon. But why, by the way, even when I told some of these locals that I was hanging out with at this bar and bungalow, I said, oh, yeah, I lived in Gold Beach. They don't know it. A lot of locals don't know Gold Beach.
Keep it that way.
Yeah. I found a nice little nook down in the south there near the California border.
Go to Port Orford instead. Stay away.
And they had a great farmer's market there, a nice little local market that was fantastic. And I just love this stuff in Oregon. It's really what sets this state apart, I think, the best farmers markets that you could find anywhere in America. What they do with gardening here and vegetables and what they make, real artisans, fanatical, crazy, devoted, delicious.
So you're going to make the trip next week, though?
Absolutely.
Okay,
He was like,
good.
a lot of people are like, you go all the way to Milwaukee, you know, the Portlandians, and it's like, it's only 2 miles. So that's where you get, though, right? I'm like, all right, I'll make the venture down to Milwaukee. I didn't even know Milwaukee existed until I finally moved here. It's one of those little areas Milwaukee, Wisconsin, why would you go there? So let's talk a little about the Olympics, which I'm just enjoying thoroughly with the drama and the stories and the athletes and just on and on. But first, a correction from my last podcast talk show Friday. I made a big boo-boo. I said Suni Lee had 3 Achilles tendon tears. That was another Olympian that I was listening to them talk about, not her.
Oh,
But that isn't to say she hasn't had severe injuries or injuries that have caused her to pull out of competitions over her career. She's had 2 ankle injuries, a hairline fracture of her tibia, and she did have an Achilles tendon injury, not specified whether it was a tear or not. She's only 18 years old, but they all have their injuries. These are tough girls. We underestimate the amount of pain they go through physically to get to the level they're at. And congratulations to Suni Lee. In addition to her gold in the all-around, she got a bronze in the uneven bars in Tokyo. Again, only 18 years old. Went into the uneven bars, got herself a bronze. Fantastic. And you know what else about Suni? She's committed to going to the University of Auburn for her college, and she's going to participate in the gymnastics there, which I thought was interesting. You don't see that often.
Yeah, I didn't see that. That's awesome.
Usually, they cash in, take their millions like Simone Biles, and, higher education, not on the radar. But she's going to actually go to college, get her degree, and participate in the Auburn gymnastic team, which is another unusual thing. I have a feeling she'll dominate the collegiate gymnastics when she's there.
Do you think they'll even? I guess if she's committed to doing gymnastics, can you do that?
That's what they said.
Oh, okay.
That's what they said. Yep, it's right here. I was going to bring it up. I was a little surprised too. I thought once you're a professional, because she'll be a pro. Well, she won't go pro. That's the thing. She'll go to the university instead.
Is there pro gymnastics?
They go out there and they make money in a pro. They do, when they start. I'm a little uncertain as to, is it when you make money you are declared a pro?
I'm not quite sure.
You can get sponsorship without being a pro.
Yeah. I don't understand how that works though, because there's no pro gymnastics. I'm just not sure.
They go out and they do they go in venues and stuff around the world and compete. She has long been
figure skating does.
Yeah, she has long been committed to attend the university gymnastics team. The head coach of Auburn said Jeff Graba. And the idea of the Olympic all-around champion following through on a college commitment, though, would have been almost unthinkable until now. It's written in this article in the Wall Street Journal. True enough. And when they were talking about post-Olympic opportunities, predecessors of Suni Lee didn't have as choices they have today. They had to forego a scholarship in 4 years of competing in the fun, relaxed world of the NCAA gymnastics, and some high-profile gymnasts have rolled the dice by turning professional in the run-up to the games and then regretted missing out on the college experience, writes Luis Radnofsky here in the Wall Street Journal. But Lee can do both, and post-Olympic opportunities are already coming in. She confirmed that there had been discussions about her appearing in the exhibition Gold Over America tour, the Simone Biles headlined production that goes to 35 cities in the fall, and for which Lee could now be paid far more than a basic food and lodging stipend that the college does. Biles said she would be on the bill despite the current condition that forced her to withdraw from the team in all-around finals. So there you go. There's interesting events, venues that they go on 35 city tour. That's how they make their money there. So Lee can almost certainly prove wrong. The fears that allowing college athletes to be compensated for the use of their name, image, and likeness would largely benefit star male athletes in the so-called revenue sports and hurt female athletes. She could even find that the chance to compete regularly in college gives her more exposure than a typical champion receives after the games fade. All right. So an interesting career choice there. But I applaud. Go to college, get your education. One of the things we were talking about last week was the lack of fans, and does it have an impact on the performance of athletes, especially track and field? And yesterday, I heard several track runners after they ran say the fans weren't there, so it's harder to find the motivation and get that last burst of energy you need. So it definitely adds to their ability to perform. And they all said, so you have to dig a little deeper for the self motivation because the fans aren't there cheering. And that is something you miss, right? When they're coming down the track for that last 100 meters, whatever, and they don't have the 80,000 people cheering. It's kind of a weird feeling. The atmosphere with no fans in that massive stadium, it's sad, and it's also awkward in a way. Like, where is everybody? And a disappointment. But the games went on. They're still exciting. And we saw a lot of great sprinting. I love the Jamaicans. The women, they are fantastic. And they swept the 100 meters. And Jamaica's top woman runner is just fascinating to watch. Elaine Thompson.
Yeah, everybody's got like 3 names hyphenated. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
All of the Jamaican, almost all of them, but they were just awesome to watch, especially to watch them go.
Yeah. Elaine Thompson, hurrah!
There you go.
Of
Hurrah!
Jamaica. And back-to-back golds for her. The only other person to do it, Usain Bolt, back-to-back golds. And they won the 1, 2, and 3. They swept
I
it.
loved that. It was awesome.
Shelley Ann Fraser Price.
Yep.
Sharitka Jackson.
I told you, they got hyphenated names everywhere.
I love the interview she did afterwards. She goes, a lot of people tell me that I wasn't going to do it, but I'm a tough cookie.
Yeah, she said, I'm a tough cookie.
But I'm a tough cookie.
I love her accent, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
Oh,
love the Jamaican accent.
Just
It's
charming.
great.
And she goes,
So
people
good.
say I'm mental because I want to do this.
She's like, to hell with those people. I just loved it. My wife and I were like, check it out. 1, 2, 3. We were
Yeah.
so excited.
I love the interviews afterwards. They get people especially the Jamaicans, they're so much more carefree. The thing is, you don't hear about these women for 4 years until the Olympics. They're out there in their island doing their thing. And then suddenly they come out of nowhere and they go and run the fastest times of anybody in the world. And then they go back to their island for the next 4 years to do it again. I wonder how much money they make locally from their sponsorships and such. They don't seem to get as much big exposure in the United States. Usain Bolt did a little bit, but in Jamaica they must.
I think they do on the world track scene.
Yeah,
Europe and all over.
I think a great documentary would be about the women's track runners of Jamaica, their training program, the up and coming youngsters, and how they must be fanatical there about their track. I saw the documentary on Usain Bolt, which was fantastic, at my highest rating, full bag of popcorn with butter. But I'd love to see a documentary on the gals. They're the ones that intrigue me the most. They just dominate the sport decades. How come an island like Jamaica produces such fast women? First of all,
training, man.
Well,
training.
and physically, genetically, they get some great bodies for the sport.
Training. I think it's just training.
Well,
genetics for any sport, though. But I'm just saying, I think that's the training regimen.
It's a little bit of everything. We can't just narrow it down to one thing. There's a phenomenon going.
And sometimes some of those Jamaican runners come to the U.S. to run, at college, and then they go back to Jamaica. Yep.
And then we had of course, talking about the perennial winners of the Olympics, and another group of gals that I love to see. The Chinese women divers, yesterday watched them, and again, they're like here, and then the rest of the world's here. And they're just perfection. And I was watching, Shi Ting Mao, who won the gold in the 3-meter springboard on Sunday, way above everybody else, didn't even come close to anybody beating her. Just a hell of a performer. Then her teammate Wang Han took silver, dominating again. And who took the bronze? An American. But before I get into her, I want to just talk about Shi Ting Mao. Again, she's won back-to-back golds, I believe. She's 29 years old, a veteran. Started her athletic career at age 6 as a gymnast before switching to diving 5 years later. They find them young in China. They seek them out, put them in their training programs from 5 years of age, and they live an isolated world of sports training. And it's more devotion to sports than it is to their education. That's the way they do it. It's well documented. And I love the one scene, okay, with after she dives and pretty much clinches the gold, right? And she goes to the shower to wash off, and there was an Australian diver in front of her that shouldn't have been there because it was her time to shower. And she gives her a little slap on the ass. Move along, honey. I gotta use this now. And the Australian diver looks at her and is like, ooh.
Hey.
And then she went to walk and she went into the frame of the camera. Oh, there's a camera too. It was a funniest little transaction. Yeah, she walks up and she's like, bing. You know, my time. I'm the gold medal winner. And that was a great little interaction behind the scenes of what goes on in these sports. So let's talk a little bit now about the bronze medal winner for the U.S., because this is another backstory that I love to follow, the backstories of these athletes, of how they got to where they're getting. And so her name is Krista Palmer, and she won the individual bronze medal for the 3 meters diving board. And believe it or not, this is like the first time in the U.S. that a medal in the individual diving competition, somebody who's been on the medal platform since Laurel Wilkinson won gold on the platform in 2000. It's been 21 years before we were back on the medal count, getting a medal in this sport. That's unbelievable. I would think we can do better in the diving than we're performing. We got to up our game and getting kids interested in diving and such. But her background...
We don't pluck kids out of school when they're 3 and go, you must dive. We don't do that here, though.
Maybe we should.
I don't think
no,
so.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Home of the free, baby.
Home of the free. But this woman, though, has a great story. Krista Palmer was a trampoline specialist. Her father got her into that. And she had to bow out of it at 18 years of age because she had hip problems, because it's a real physical toll on your hips. So she goes to community college, and while she's at the community college, somebody that was in the diving team shows her how to do a dive. She does it so well, they're like, you should reach out to the University of Nevada, Reno, and see if they'd be interested. She's at community college now, right? Trying to think about what to do with herself. So she goes to the University of Nevada in Reno and excels. And then 9 years later, at 29 years of age, gets the bronze medal after 21 years of waiting in the United States for a medal contender.
That's a movie, man.
That is a great story. That's what you call Olympic athletes, amateurs playing the sport for the sport itself and devoting your life to it, not thinking about money, not thinking about anything, but enjoying yourself as an athlete and on the greatest stage in the world, the Olympics, coming through under the pressure, not quitting, and succeeding. It's those stories that I just love. And one more I'll bring out, which exemplifies the amateur athlete, because a lot of these athletes in the Olympics are also pros, making millions of dollars, as we know. But then you've got the Krista Palmers and then this Canadian diver who I couldn't believe it when I saw it. They showed it coming out of a commercial break on NBC. And she got a 0 on her dive because she just blew it entirely and fell on her stomach. Pamela Ware of the Canadian team, and it was just like wow, this is the Olympics, and she hit the board, and she was like, "Whoa, wait a second, what am I'm not gonna." Boom, down on her stomach, like I would do, trying to do a flip.
Flashbacks from spring break.
Yeah, with a few beers in you. But here's the story here, though, that she didn't quit, and she came back on the board and made a successful dive. And she said on her Instagram, quote, "What we do in the competition is just a tiny factor of what we actually do to get to where we are. I was so ready for this competition, and I made a mistake. It could have happened to anybody, but it happened to me at the wrong time."
I love Canadians.
She said, "I think if I would have done the dive, I could have possibly hurt myself," so she bailed out. Sounds familiar to somebody else who who bailed out but quit entirely. Simone Biles. She's,
I think this gal's far ahead above Simone Biles and her character.
but she said, "I'm not going to quit, though. I know that was embarrassing for me in the world stage. I'm getting back out on the board, not worried about, what happened last time, and moving forward and completing the competition, because this is my one chance in the Olympics, and I will not end in a failure." 28 years of age.
Atta girl.
Well, that's what the Olympics is about. She said, quote, "I have done everything possible to make it to where I am, and I am human. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I hope you guys are going to get used to having me around, because I'm not going anywhere. I'm not giving up." Which seems to be a lot of athletes making that statement, because in the Olympics, you don't give up. Message to some athletes, especially one. All right. Speaking of sports, let me not forget to mention, this is Canada again, our little country above
Oh, Canada.
The Toronto Blue Jays, after 670 days, finally returned to Canada to play baseball. Last week, the end of the week, 161 regular season and playoff games across 2 seasons finally returned to their true home after the Canadian government rejected the team's request to play in Toronto during the pandemic, citing concerns over the cross-border travel to and from the United States. They returned Friday, had a 6-4 victory over the Kansas City Royals in their stadium. They were exiled to Salin Field, a Class AAA stadium in Buffalo.
Well, they play in a dump anyways, don't they?
No, what?
The Blue Jays in the Sky Dome or whatever they play in,
Yeah,
that's a dump.
Beautiful stadium. The roof closes. It's a gorgeous stadium. They're finally back after 670 days.
It's a dump.
Rogers Center. Don't call it a dump. By the way, speaking of stadiums, they're not going to have that Kraken Stadium ready. My friend in Seattle told me, for like the first part of the first week or two of the season. They'll have to play 2 or 3 of their games outside.
Yeah, they're on the road. They also are playing 3 exhibition games around the Northwest, I think in Spokane, also in Everett, and then one at the ShoWare Center, I think down there in Kent, where the Seattle Thunderbirds play. So yeah, they'll be on the road, but it'll be ready.
Mm-hmm.
You don't spend $1 billion and you'll be ready.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I don't know. I haven't followed the construction. Have they said they're gonna be, or are they following?
They said they're going to be on time. They say they're going to be on
delays?
time. So,
By the way, my buddy in Seattle, he has confirmed at least a half season of season passes, so I have an in.
Excellent.
2 ticks.
Yeah, they're $300 right now if you want to buy them for any game, just about.
I'll be tapping into that. Sorry to tell you that. Maybe I can get you one.
No, I got my in too.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And it doesn't involve sitting in a seat. It sits in a box.
What do you mean a box?
A box seat. Big.
How do you know
suite.
this is? He may have a box seat. He usually gets box seats.
So he's in the suite then? He's in a suite?
Probably. He wouldn't settle for anything less.
Yeah, okay. I want to meet this friend.
You never met my friend Chucky? All right. He's been in Seattle. He's a former, Northeasterner, made it big in Seattle in the investment side of things. Always has, connections. I hate that. Hate it.
What are you reading now?
I just wanted to touch upon the new CDC guidelines, that they came out with last week. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention urging Americans to start wearing masks again. And now Oregon has, implemented a new mask mandate for government offices and public schools. And I'm just seeing right around the corner, Mrs. Kate Brown, our governor, mandating masks again in restaurants. And I could just see it coming. I don't agree with it. Not in Multnomah County, where we have 80% fully vaccinated. And I'm sticking to that number. But so far, we're avoiding going backwards after a month of moving forward. But this whole thing started with the CDC changing course in my former community of Cape Cod before I came out here in Massachusetts, where the Delta variant had a big spreading incident where 127 vaccinated people infected with the Delta. They were infected, they confirmed, with the Delta variant during an outbreak that to carry as much virus as 84 unvaccinated or partially vaccinated people who became infected. So they estimate 430 confirmed COVID cases as a result of vaccinated people giving it to unvaccinated people, linked to a cluster July 4th in Provincetown at the tip of Cape Cod. And then the CDC saw this, started reviewing it and saying, okay, so all these unvaccinated people in a clustered state, it's really packed in Provincetown. And then there was this massive breakout. And they're like, and they got it from unvaccinated people. So the unvaccinated people carried the variant, didn't show symptoms or very mild symptoms, and then gave it to the unvaccinated. Got it? See how that happens? Now they're saying, vaccinated people should be wearing masks in certain situations where there's a lot of people. What do you think, Mr. McDonald?
I think it's public safety, so whatever.
So now we're going to have Oregon's government and governor looking at this. I know, but we have 80%. It says like 77% or something at this point, but these data numbers, probably behind a couple of weeks. I don't know how. Anyway, it's a lot of people fully vaccinated in Multnomah County right now. So you're only talking about like 20%, 23% unvaccinated. So I say it's up to them to get vaccinated. Don't punish me because a great minority is still reluctant to get a shot. Don't punish the responsible parties. It's their problem. It's not my problem.
I mean, I was just at the airport yesterday. I had to wear a mask while I was in the
public
airport.
Place.
Yeah, I don't care.
Mandate. Well, yeah, in a public place like that where you're
I don't care.
Encountering people from all over the world and other counties, sure.
But I'm not going to put on my mask to go to the can at my office. I'm just not doing it.
No way in hell. There's nobody here. Let's be reasonable, people. But I'm waiting and anticipating this mask mandate to come to us again. Governor Brown always seems to follow the other people. Oh, they're doing it in this state. Well, we got to do it. Is it possible Multnomah County, you go county by county, and if your percentage is this, then you don't have to. I'm just anticipating. I keep watching for that announcement. Sorry, everybody. Back to mask mandates in restaurants, in grocery stores, wherever you go, where there's another person next to you. Maybe not. Maybe we'll be more reasonable. Right? There are counties where you only have 50% or less, 44% fully vaccinated in the state. And those counties, you know what? If you want to punish people and get them on the horse and start riding to the vaccination place, getting it done, tell them they have to have mask mandates when you enter this county because they haven't fulfilled the objective of 70%. And that's what we will say today about the coronavirus. Try not to dwell on it too much. Just keep an eye on this situation because it's just a bummer, isn't it? I mean, we're going into 2 years of this stuff. Man, it's a drag. Pandemic, what a nightmare that won't end. But the Olympics is still going, and that's positive, and I'll be watching that and talking about that. We got the 200 meters, one of my great events that I like to follow. That's coming up with Noah Lyles, the world record holder. All that tomorrow's show of Citizen Smith.
I'm Dave Dahl, creator of Dave's Killer Bread, a well-known, against-the-odds success story. To give back, we built a podcast studio called TalkCast PDX, a state-of-the-art facility to produce your own podcast. TalkCast PDX is a place where every opinion is accepted. If you've ever thought about it, do it. Use your voice and make a difference at TalkCast PDX.